Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Crypto Talks. For those who have been following us would remember that the first Crypto Talks actually started in this very special venue. At that time, we called ourselves a small but dedicated team of crypto companies. Today, I am proud to say that Crypto Economy Organization is now the largest blockchain association in the Baltics in terms of size, events, impact. And this would have not been possible without the people driving this organization forward. And one of the key persons is the vice president of this association, my dear friend, a professional and a host of this beautiful venue, is Gediminas Laucius, who's a managing partner of Noeve, and I would like him to say a few welcoming words.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Mykolas, for the introduction. They say that 6 months in crypto feel like 6 years in any other industry. 6 months have passed and Crypto Talks are back there where they started, at the RC office. I think that we have really good coffee in this building. But jokes aside, I'm really happy to see you all today. I feel proud of what Lithuanian crypto industry has achieved so far, and I feel even more excited to see what the future holds for the industry and for our small but ambitious and innovative country. Looking backwards to 2017, a combination of good luck and focused efforts by the Bank of Lithuania and other state institutions allowed our country to attract first fintech companies. Those first fintech companies, first follows, if you may, soon became one of the most vibrant and successful fintech hubs in Europe. Now we have more than 200 different fintech companies. Among them, we have success stories like Revolut, like SetchelPay, like Violet, like TransferGo, like Paysera, and many others. And this success could not go unnoticed by the crypto industry as well. Back in 2019, 2020, global crypto industry was operating under opaque, I would even say, non-existing regulatory conditions. Few, if any, countries had any regulations and laws tailored specifically for crypto industry. Luckily, Lithuania was fast back then. It was one of the first European member states to introduce amendments to a law on anti-money laundering that was designed specifically for virtual asset service providers. That little of legal certainty and clarity was exactly what the industry needed back then. When first international global players from crypto industry started exploring Lithuania, they found that Revolut was here. They found open, transparent, and friendly fintech ecosystem. And that was more than enough for them to make the decision to come and incorporate in Lithuania. What followed was a rapid expansion of virtual asset service providers in Lithuania. By 2022, I think we had somewhere around 800 VASP registered in Lithuania. That came at the cost of additional risk, especially relating to money laundering accumulating in our country. And our country had to act, and it did act. Lithuanian parliament, supported by the government, introduced 2 sets of amendments to law on anti-money laundering back in 2022, then in 2024. In the result, the regulatory requirements were tightened. They were tightened considerably. And this helped. Many bad actors, many shelf companies, other unserious players, they left the country. Still, at the beginning of this year, we had around 340 virtual asset service providers registered in Lithuania. That was and is still one of the highest concentrations in entire Europe. Now, we are at the turning point. At the beginning of this year, MiCA, Markets in Crypto Assets Regulation, came into full force in entire Europe. Of course, we're still in the transitional phase, but very soon, crypto asset service providers will be subject to the very same stringent and strict rules as traditional financial institutions. The days of Wild West are over. Industry has to grow up fast. It has to get accustomed and learn how to stick and comply with high regulatory standards. Bank of Lithuania is known as one of the most professional and progressive regulators in Europe. At the same time, it is also known to be one of the most demanding ones. And knowing that, I'm glad that more than 70 virtual asset service providers decided to seek for a license in Lithuania. This means and shows commitment. This also shows trust in our regulatory environment. More than that, the license issued by the Bank of Lithuania has become kind of a trademark, a confirmation, a sign of quality, security, and trust. This is an asset in itself for any crypto business, for any financial institution. At this point, I may sound a little bit romantic, or maybe even naive, but I have this internal feeling that from the very beginning, Lithuanian crypto industry and its journey has been guided by some invisible hand, some lucky, favorable hand. For example, less than a year ago, our community managed to attract attention of someone special, of extraordinary personality, public figure, and professional, Mykolas Majauskas. Thanks to the efforts of Mykolas, and of course because of the efforts of other community members, the voice of crypto industry is being heard. We are having those public discussions, engaging ones. We are maintaining respectful, constructive, professional relationship with supervisory authorities, and this matters. And this matters a lot because crypto has already become a integral part of a broader financial system. Blockchain technology changes the way how we think about value, how we store it, how we move it. Crypto assets is a new form of assets designed for digital economy, for the economy of the future. And by a lucky chance, by a lucky coincidence, Lithuania has this historic opportunity to become center of this new form of economy. Like Switzerland, like Netherlands, like United Kingdom, like Luxembourg did many years ago in relation to traditional finance. And I'm optimistic that we will not let this chance go away. Thank you so much, everyone, for being here today. I wish you a great event. I wish you meaningful conversations and good time together. Let's create the future of crypto together here in Lithuania. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Gediminas, for your kind words. And without further ado, I'd like to go into our conversations, the fireside chat. And some say I've been watching BBC too much, but we like to keep our conversations hard. And this community would have not have happened without the regulator who actually cares, who I would identify who's got this tough love relationship with the sector. It pushes hard, the governance, the risk management, the compliance, the reporting, the auditing, and physically and emotionally is vested in this community, actively participating. And this is a true statement to the trust of what this community brings and the opportunities that Gediminas has mentioned. At every one of our Crypto Talks event, we had a regulator present, from the most junior to the most senior. And some of you would remember we even had the chairman of the central bank at our event a few months ago. Today we have a special guest, a deputy chair of the central bank, who has been one of the godfathers of the fintech ecosystem here in Lithuania, Simonas Krėpštos. I'd like to welcome Simonas. Good morning, Simonas.
Happy to be here. Thanks for the invitation.
How are you?
Good.
I know you're very busy. You've got a very tight schedule.
You know, nowadays time is an asset.
True. First of all, I would like to congratulate you on incredible achievement personally, professionally, and also a magnificent recognition for Lithuania as a whole to be recognized with such talent. And for those who don't know, Simonas has been appointed as executive board member of AMLA, which is a European Union's agency responsible for coordinating national competent authority efforts in counter-terrorism financing and AML. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
But, Simonas, let's get this straight. So we have these wonderful global companies with incredible talent coming here to Lithuania because Lithuania is such a great place to be. But you leaving to Frankfurt, why?
Well, first of all, I think we are getting more and more integrated in Europe. So, you know, being in one place of the Europe or the other place of Europe, you can still work for Europe and for the whole ecosystem. So I don't think I'm leaving far away. I will stay in the same subject, more or less, ML, more concentrated on ML. And again, one of the kind of challenges in Europe is that we still have a fragmented regulatory system, which gives burden for the business as well. You know, this famous IMF estimate that we talk now about tariffs, right? 25% seems quite a lot, but IMF estimated that in terms of services, our internal tariffs between Germany and Lithuania and France is 100%. Kind of non-monetary tariffs, all sort of regulations, the lack of single market. So in that sense, if Europe can proceed and excel in terms of unifying regulatory environment, getting rid of this non-monetary tariffs, I think that would be for the benefit of everyone. Obviously the business, but also in terms of risk management as well, because as we know, especially in the IML, the risks are being accumulated cross-border, and major cases are cross-border. So if you cannot prevent it on the cross-border level, you are working ineffectively. So that's the essence and the goal of creating the AMLA.
Now, as I mentioned, you together with your team, the Bank of Lithuania, have created this incredible fintech ecosystem here in Lithuania that serves more than 30 million customers globally, pays hundreds of millions in taxes to state budget, employs thousands of people, very well-paid professionals. Now, looking back, are you proud of what Lithuania has achieved, and would you have done something differently?
Well, obviously that was a journey. Such things don't happen overnight. You cannot go to Rome overnight, and Rome is not built overnight. So it's a journey, and it's a journey with some challenges, tough moments. But I think we all should be proud. That's for sure. We are among the most prominent fintech hubs in Europe. That's also a fact. ChatGPT, it's confirming that. You can check it. I tried. So I think we are recognized, and you know, obviously as a country we shouldn't strive for short-term luck, short-term success. We need to have a good fundamentals on the ground, and I really liked what was mentioned in the introduction from.
Yes, please.
Yeah. Hope everything is okay.
Okay, yes, please.
Yeah.
Continue.
So, so I think, you know, fundamental factors are key, like infrastructure, talent, and we always had it, and that brings us thinking that we can still have a lot to grow in the future. From the regulatory point of view, obviously we need to have a reputation of our ecosystem, of our jurisdiction, and also a level playing field and contained risks for the long term. So that was our key challenge on you know, on all these years, and also for me personally in this position. And it's always it's not a battle, but I mean it's a challenge every day, because you need to strike this just the right balance between, you know, risk management, but also open regulation and open ecosystem for new things, because new things obviously are not precisely described in regulations, they're not tried, they bring new risks. So I think trying to strike this balance between, you know, demanding, as someone mentioned, and an open attitude. That's, I think, the key, and hopefully we were successful, and we will be successful in the future. And that's not easy. That requires commitment both from regulators, you know, and also from the market. So we meet in the middle, and we achieve results.
And what about crypto? What's crypto's role in fintech ecosystem as you see it?
And yeah, just a few more things. I think the results, the outcomes, that was really important. And that was really, you know, emphasizes and determines if we are successful or not. And you mentioned we have 30 million customers are being served from Lithuanian financial companies. We have 100+ companies in regulated licensed companies, 100 more fintech companies, unlicensed providing services. We had giant companies, the biggest bank in terms of client base in Europe. Another giant, Robinhood, just joined our ecosystem. So I think that's the key. We're showing good results on crypto. So that's to be seen, actually, you know. So the future will tell what the crypto footprint will be in our community. We are very busy now in this licensing process. I guess the market is very busy as well. Given the intentions, activity, the number of companies, I'm hopeful that the future is bright. But I think it's a transition process, because let's be honest. It was Wild West several years ago in the crypto market, and the financial regulation is quite strict, especially in Europe. We are building new regulations over the years, and it's complicated and it's strict. So it was a gap, definitely. So now we're closing this gap, and both sides need to meet again somewhere in the middle. And but I'm optimistic on that.
Thank you. Now, for many of the crypto companies, instead of focusing on building new business, serving clients, developing new services, most of them now are dedicating extraordinary resources on licensing. The things we spoke about, governance, reporting, accounting, compliance, risk management, market integrity, and various things that they never even dreamt of, many of them, let alone think that actually adds value to their business. How can we communicate and explain to crypto companies that regulation actually matters, that it builds trust, that it's not just a cost, but it's an investment that creates opportunities?
So, believe it or not, but every regulation is actually, or at least most of the regulations is actually based on past events and on past failures. So everything in terms of governance, capital, shareholders' reputation, management competence, it's all based on previous events and failures, basically. So if the shareholders were not reputable or strong, companies failed. If the management was incompetent, companies failed and customers suffered. So all these regulations actually are based on previous failures. accumulated over the years. So I understand that it's always kind of growing, and it becomes complicated and overburdened, and sometimes countries and European Union is also trying to simplify them. But all regulation actually comes with good intentions to prevent previous failures. So I think it's a very good reason to try to look at the regulations from that point of view. As a regulator, we certainly do that, and try to really think serious about that, because I really like your thought that it's not. It's usually from the market it's deemed as a cost, as a ongoing cost basis. You try to what do you try to do with the cost? You try to shrink it. You try to minimize it. But we look at as an investment, and if the point of view is a bit changed, I think also the attitude is changing, because the companies working with money from other people, it's a risky business. It has always been a risky business, and I think it's also a responsibility and a privilege to get a license and to be able to take money from companies, from consumers, try to safeguard this money and to grow the value of this money, and that of course requires quite a lot of safeguards, regulations around it.
Now, Crypto Economy Organization has very much supported the tough but fair approach from the Bank of Lithuania, requiring that every crypto company that's willing to serve clients here in Lithuania or from Lithuania has to meet the same standards that every financial market participant has to meet there. No discounts there, despite the fact that they're so cool, innovative, fancy, but if they want to serve, they want to safeguard clients' money, they have to keep the standards high, especially on the UBO structures, the transparency, the clear source of funds, the corporate governance, the independent decision-making, the market integrity. So these elements at the core of our association, we believe are very important, including the requirement by the Bank of Lithuania for the companies to go through a national security check. This is very important, and very much commend your efforts in that approach. Having that in mind, now you've seen 20, 30 applications already at the Bank of Lithuania. As you see them, what are the weakest points of those applications, and what would be your advice to the crypto companies? Which part they should strengthen?
So again, crypto sector is entering financial sector. MiCA is based on MiFID and other similar regulations, so very, kind of like financial sector, which the rules which worked for other companies, and it is as it is, but it's a very big opportunity, I think, for the sector, because from this Wild West sidelines, now it's from bit of shadows, it's coming at the spotlight, and it's getting access to we have 450 million people living in Europe, 300 million plus adult population. So basically, if you get a license, you're getting access to such a market, and you can operate cross-border. So I think it's a huge opportunity and responsibility. So we, as a regulator, we try to implement these rules and to ensure that the level playing field is not only, that crypto sector companies in Lithuania are meeting the same standards as financial companies in Lithuania, other financial companies, but crypto sectors in Lithuania are meeting the same standards compared to other crypto companies in Europe. That's also very important because, again, we are all about the single market. So we regularly talk with the supervisors in Netherlands, Luxembourg, Germany, the major jurisdictions. We share our experiences. We try to sort out some questions because, again, MiCA is a new regulation. There are still some gaps in that. So regulators are sorting them out, trying to look for ways. We very much engage with the ESMA and other European regulators, trying to have this really not only care about Lithuania, but also about the European level.
So if I just stop you there, and we'll come back to the answer of the question, but you mentioned Netherlands, the communicating with Netherlands. And we know Netherlands, we've been issuing licenses. What have you learned from Netherlands?
So in Netherlands, they had MiCA-like regulation for years, for several years, basically. So that's the key difference compared to Lithuania. In Lithuania, MiCA came into force at the 30th of December last year. They had MiCA-like regulation and licensing process, MiCA-like licensing process for years. So that's why they were able to transition and issue MiCA licenses so quickly, because they had, and by the way, they had only maybe 20, 25 licenses before MiCA came into force. So it's quite a low number, but more mature companies which knew how to deal in the regulated manner. So one of the lessons we're learning is that the companies which were already operating in the financial sector and now tries to also acquire crypto license, they are kind of more successful in understanding, this transition. It's more difficult for the companies which had nothing or very little to do with the financial regulations. So for these companies, a bit more difficult. And yeah, so the latest numbers are even higher. So we have got already 46 applications.
Wow,
already.
46 applications.
But the catch is from 26 companies.
Okay.
So basically, on average, the company is trying twice until they meet minimal standards and have the complete application.
Okay, so let's talk about 26 then.
Yeah.
So what are the weak points?
So from these 26, we go to 14, which are being more in-depth
in the assessment phase.
Yeah, in the assessment phase. So the first stage is passed. So the first is just the completeness of the application. So we try to identify the application is not complete in 5 working days. So we try to move very quickly. We have a dedicated team on that. And then we go to the second stage, more deeper analysis. So one major lesson I mentioned, the companies which were already in the financial system, they move more quickly. And then just simple things you mentioned. First, of course, we look at the shareholders' ability to acquire capital and reputation. We look to management, competence and reputation again, same standards for the whole financial companies. Then, of course, we looked at governance, we looked to the IT, risk management, obviously ML side. And also we look that the companies won't be in empty shells. So, it's and again, a common practice. It's nothing special. Financial companies should be incorporated and operating in the country where it is headquartered and where the supervision is coming as a main single point of entry. So it can't be empty shell, because otherwise you cannot supervise this company. One thing, but the more important thing is that the risk is huge with the empty shell if not the management is not in place to take major decisions regarding the company.
Now, how important is independent decision making, which we have seen in ESMA supervisory guidance mentioned? We have, in many instances, these global, huge companies, and we have some of the largest companies here today. So we have Binance, which takes, in some instances, even 50% of the market share. We have Bybit, also taking a very significant part of the share. Some other companies, but they're global companies. And you're licensing an entity here in Lithuania. How important is independence of that entity here?
It's a good question, but we have a lot of experience with that. So we have similar cases in banking, in payments institutions. So fundamentally, it's not a big difference. So obviously, huge companies, they have groups, holdings operating in many countries. But still, if you are licensed in Lithuania, and license in Lithuania means license in Europe. So it's an important note with access to millions, hundreds of millions of clients. So definitely you should strike a balance, and the company, the headquarter, should have the competent and reputable management who can take major decisions about the company and can control the risks independently. Because many things can happen, even in terms of operational risk. It's very important to have all the operations and plan B and plan C if somehow the connection with the overseas is cracking. We had cases in Spain about the energy disruption and so on. So from this infrastructure side to the management decision-making side, it's important to have a company which is taking a lot of money from companies and consumers and have the ability to control the risk and take major decisions and be responsible for the operations of the company.
Thank you. And now we've got 14 companies in the assessment stage, assuming we'll have a few more. How long would you expect the licensing process to take? We know the standards of 40, 50 business days for one part of the assessment and for the decision making, but in practice, what do you expect those 14 companies to go through, assuming some would get yes, some would get no, some would get maybe, but how in terms of timeline, assuming the companies are committed to providing the necessary answers on time?
So obviously it's two sides of the same coin. So one side is us regulators. So in terms of MiCA, the deadlines and the timelines are the shortest actually compared to other financial companies. So MiCA, all these dates when from the application, when the answer should come, it's squeezed. It's basically squeezed into 4 months or so maximum. The other side of the coin, obviously, is the market. So obviously, if we get an incomplete application package, we try to give it back very, very quickly in identifying what is missing. So we have done it in a number of cases already. Obviously, if we are not getting the whole information, which is material, and it's necessary, to assess the reputation, the origin of funds, and things like that. Obviously, we indicate that, and we ask the company to provide. So it depends, how fast the company is providing. So the final outcome is dependent on these two sides of the coin, and it could be, from short to long, and we see it exactly. So from these 14 applications, we are, working in the second stage, going more deeply. We see some companies which are quite close, actually, towards the end of the process. But we see some companies which are really far away, and probably we will tell them to work more and to fix things. So it's a huge spectrum, and yeah.
And you have a big team dedicated working on it.
So given all
are they on temporary contracts, or you see them permanently?
So we'll see. But no, we were really preparing hard, and I think the governor was emphasizing that last time, that we were working hard all 2024, preparing for this big challenge for us as well. Having hundreds of companies, we were expecting that, like you said, 60, 70, 80 companies will come with the application. And obviously, that's a wave we have never seen like that. Even though we had hundreds of fintech companies, but they came over 4, 5, 6, 7 years timeline. So now we're talking about 6 months and maybe 12 months, right, time. So I think that's the key challenge, but we gathered a good team. Definitely it was additional resources, additional people. We tried to attract people from the market, because even though some regulations are like MiFID and in different countries in terms of capitals management, governance, it's quite obvious things. But of course, we need to understand the business model, and it's a unique business model, new thing. So we
Which competence are the most difficult to source in crypto industry when you're attracting the talent and trying to retain
for us as a regulator, obviously the competences regarding the real operations and the business model of crypto companies. So we were not so much in touch with such companies. We were not supervising them directly. So obviously it's a new thing. So we know how the investment companies, working banks, payment companies, we know quite well. But on crypto, obviously we needed these competences. So we're building on them further down the road. But we have some people from the market, which came in, and filled the team.
Something didn't go unnoticed. You mentioned the 6 and the 12 months. So much appreciated for
5 and 12.
for being open to the needs of the industry, and we'll see how the Parliament reacts and what decisions will make. But being open in discussions and engaging in the hearings at the Parliament, at the committees, I think is much appreciated. The engagement from the Bank of Lithuania that we've seen so far. Now, there's something that we haven't agreed before, but I would like to ask if you don't mind to take perhaps a question from the audience.
Sure.
Would we have a question? Someone brave enough to ask the question? Yes, we have on the second floor, before the microphone goes all the way to the second floor. Do we have anyone on the first floor? A question? Yes, please.
From practice, we know what Bank of Lithuania just represent himself like a strict but loving regulator. But in practice, we see from the Lithuanian perspective, when a company applies to a MiCA license, they receive strange rejection. We never seen this like from the 10 years. So in the Public Administration Act, if a regulator or public institution can receive information from other public institutions like National Security Acts, he cannot ask it from a company. But in practice, from the 10 years, this practice is common in all Lithuanian governance institutions, but it seems to like we come back 10 years ago. Can't you see the rejection of the process bureaucratization from the Bank of Lithuania? This is not common in all Europe, and it's quite strange.
Thank you. So it's about the high standards. We'll get you to answer that question. But again, crypto association very much supports. The higher the standards, the better, which means that makes us better too. And we'll take the second question and we'll ask you to answer both. Yes, please.
Good morning. Hi. My name is Monica. I just recently came back from Token 2049. The companies are very positive, multiplying basically, but the sheer word regulation gives them goosebumps. I mean, crypto in essence, blockchain is transparent. It's supposed to be secure, peer-to-peer technology, but they're still picking Seychelles. They're going to British Virgin Islands and so to establish themselves. As a country, what are we doing to lift that veil on regulation to make sure that the companies understand the benefits of it?
So obviously there's no way to get this common understandings without dialogue and conversations, and we try to do it. So we tried to do it last year already, engaging with the market. We try to do it now. We have a lot of dialogue with fintech associations. So obviously, crypto sector will be next. So we have regular meetings with them, and also we like to get more critical comments. So if you have something you think it's not working or something is not according to the rules, please indicate it. Please write it. Please tell us in argumented way, and we will look at it. Obviously, sometimes it's again this gap, misunderstanding gap, and then we try to explain that obviously we are very much in line and in contact with all sorts of agencies, from national security agent to our FIU. We have MOUs especially signed and renewed last year with all major agencies, try to ensure this dialogue and exchange of information, especially for MiCA transition, because we thought that it will be a lot of applications in a very short period of time. Now on regulation. So I think, Seychelles or other jurisdictions, I think it's not an answer. So the decision was made that crypto sector is entering financial sector. So that's a big leap. That's a major step. And obviously, if you want to, go into Olympics, it's a big, leap, a big step from national league, right? So it's a challenge, and you need to put a lot of effort, to do that. But the kind of strategic decision was made to go to the Olympics, and now I think we should not. We should go straight on and put a lot of effort, so from regulators as well. So if you see something is not working, so just again, please indicate it, and we have been solving lots of things with audit and other things.
Yes, thank you on that as well. And just the last question, as the time is running short. I had the privilege of serving this country in public sector for a little bit more than 10 years, and I know very much how difficult it is to strike the right balance in communicating with private sector, with businesses, with associations, just to avoid any potential conflict of interest, any potential scene of favoritism. Nevertheless, effective communication between public and private sector is very important for well-functioning ecosystem, for well-functioning economy, for well-functioning society. So what recommendations or suggestions you could make to have that engagement between public sector and private sector better for associations and businesses like ours?
Well, I think, first of all, I think we have a good tradition between this dialogue, so open, transparent, and respectful, as you say, dialogue between public and private sector. It is needed, especially if we talk about new sort of business areas where, this understanding needs to be built. I think we have a good track record. One example is our ML Center of Excellence. Again, it's basically a joint venture between the public sector and private sector. So both private sector and public sector put money and created a company concentrating on ML prevention. And now it was basically it was banks, the initial founders, then fintech sector companies. We changed the rules, so fintech companies are allowed to be shareholders, and we'll see what happens next. But
thank you for invitation.
but I hope that it will expand, because it should cover the whole financial sector. So definitely the dialogue is needed, and again, in a dialogue, both parties need to want to find solution, need to be open and transparent, and then it's successful. So wish every one of us to continue. And it's a journey. So every day you face some challenges, but you need to be willing to sort it out, and then it's good.
And I wish you a great journey to Frankfurt, hoping that you will follow the steps of these companies and come back to Lithuania. I see one more question. Of course, please, Žygimante.
Thank you. So before closing, few lawyerish question. So I heard that some kind of position of the Bank of Lithuania is changing regarding dual licensing. Yeah. So is it possible for the same crypto company to apply for payment license? So that would be one question. And second, regarding USDT, so not authorized e-money tokens. What would be your view if companies applying for the license would provide services outside EU regarding non-authorized TMTs?
Thank you, Žygimante. That's very technical questions. One remark, Žygimante, I would like to invite you on our weekly crypto community conversations, where we discuss those things, and we actually spoke with the head of licensing, Agnė Kazlauskienė, who confirmed to us last week that dual authorization of the same entity is possible and even recommended, assuming that this would come out in EBA guidelines on the subject following the European Commission's letter on the non-compliant stablecoins. Would you like to take the question?
No, I mean, the good thing is that I'm not a lawyer, so so my answers would be a bit vague, but definitely MiCA requires that all stable coins should be registered in Europe, right? So the registration is needed, and that's the essence, I would say. So and another thing is you're right. So some regulations are just being issued now, even though the MiCA is already adopted. So in that sense, it's still a bit of a moving target, and we get more clarity basically every week on the European level. So in that sense, this dialogue and conversation is even more important when the environment it's new, but it's still evolving.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Thank you, Simonas, so much for taking time to participate. I hope you still have a few minutes left to hear some of our other speakers here. And the next representative I'd like to invite on the stage is a company who has been of tremendous help and importance in building this ecosystem here in Lithuania. They have contributed to public education. They have contributed to competence, to compliance, to getting people together regularly to discuss the importance of crypto sector here in Lithuania. And today we have quite a few t-shirts with a beautiful name Binance written all over them. And we even have this German-Lithuanian Jonas here, who know most of you, has been of great help to everyone when he picks up the phone, to help and assist the people who'd like to get help here in Lithuania in building business, finding solutions, finding investments, getting the right compliance, ensuring the regulations, interaction and engagement with the regulators. So Binance has been a pinnacle and the key element of what we do here in Lithuania. And I'm so glad that today we have Jonas' boss, Thomas Gregory, here with us, who again just came back from Dubai Token 2049. Thomas, please welcome on stage, and I would like to hear more about Binance, about opportunities, and your presence here. Please.
Thank you.
So before we go into our conversation, could you please share a few slides on Binance so we get a better feel of what Binance is about?
Sure, happy to. And thanks for the welcome. Great to be here today. I think most people in the room probably know Binance pretty well, but I know there's a lot of people outside that maybe do not know Binance so well. So let me just take a couple of minutes just to talk a little bit about what we are and what we do. So Binance is the #1 global exchange in the world, crypto exchange in the world. We have, actually you can see it on the Binance website, we have a ticker. This was probably accurate as of yesterday. 271 million users globally. So 271 million people have signed up to Binance since we've formed. It's our 8th year anniversary in 2 months' time. So we're a relatively new company in the big scheme of things. We have a mission, a really simple mission, and our mission is for freedom of money. So we're trying to build ecosystems, we're trying to build crypto experiences, we're trying to build infrastructure that really allows our users to really experience crypto in a safe way, in a secure way, and in a way that lets them really engage in the crypto community. Here's a couple of stats of who we are and what we do. As I said, 270 million users. We are regulated in over 21 markets today. And that's quite significant for us, because I'm just going to pick up on one point that Simonas was saying just a moment ago. We don't see regulation as a cost. We actually see regulation as a really key part of our ecosystem to give users, to give our customers actually confidence in the service which we're delivering. And we actually believe that by having the appropriate regulations globally around the world, that builds trust and confidence in crypto as a whole community. We have over 1,000 global compliance staff within Binance. That is our commitment to regulation, and that is our commitment to ensure that we are providing the services appropriately to our users. So, Binance in Lithuania. We've been here for 5 years now. We've made a real commitment to this country. Why? We'll talk about it a little bit more, but I think some of it's already been mentioned today. The Lithuanian experience in financial services, the fact you've been able to attract companies such as Revolut, Robinhood, we've mentioned some of them already, means that you have a really distinct experience in being able to regulate maybe slightly more innovative sectors, but regulate it in a fair and transparent way. And that is why this country is actually very attractive to us. And then just a final bit before we go on to the questions. Just two things which we want to talk about today. Firstly, as of today, the Binance app is now available in the Lithuanian language. That is launched as of this morning. So we hope that through that we'll be able to service our customers actually here in Lithuania in a stronger, more transparent way. And then the second one, just for people that are here, on May the 22nd, we're holding a community meetup here in Vilnius. We held one of these about 6 months ago, and it was subscribed about 3 times over. So if you're interested in attending that, then please register quickly. They're limited spaces. But our local community meetups is a great experience, a great way to come and meet local crypto experts, amateurs, and people that want to just talk about crypto. So hope to see you all at that event then. Anyway, so that's Binance. Mykolas, over to you.
Thank you, thank you. Now, I guess in addition to all the great things you mentioned, the most important thing to me is that you've actually paid 100 million euros in taxes here in Lithuania. That's incredible. And we're not talking revenues, not even profit. It's actual taxes paid to the state in Lithuania. And that's roughly what, 5 years. Now, we have a legend, a story of how this city was founded. It's founded by the great Grand Duke Gediminas. And we have a fact that the way he founded the city, the way he built the city, he wrote letters throughout Europe, mostly Western Europe, in trying to bring businesses to Lithuania, bring merchants, craftsmen to Lithuania. And personally, I think that in seeing what's happening right now and seeing what you've achieved and what you've done, I think that he would be proud. And as a small token of appreciation, I have this tie with Gediminas, the great Grand Duke of Vilnius and Lithuania insignia, as a small token of appreciation for you, for what you've done here.
Thank you, thank you. Thank you very much.
So basically, for every 100 million euros in taxes you pay, you get a tie.
Another tie. I look forward to my second one in a couple of years' time.
And hopefully a license too.
Yeah, and the license.
But speaking more seriously, how do you actually make that sort of money here? The last time I checked on official database, you had 14 employees, 1/4 officially. Wabi Bifinity, which paid 100 million in taxes, has 14 employees. How does that work?
So, I mean, I think the economics is pretty simple. We have 270 million users globally. We have over 10 million users, actually customers here in Lithuania or using our entity in Lithuania. And we're providing fiat on and off-ramp services. So our mission in Binance is to grow the whole category. We want the whole of crypto to grow. And we hope that as the whole crypto industry grows, people want to use Binance. But we're totally happy if they want to use our competitors too, because we're working together to grow the industry. Now, if I want to attract the next 250 million people into crypto, they're not going to be crypto natives. Because what I can guarantee you is every crypto native on this planet already has a Binance account. So to attract the next 270 million users into Binance, I need to have very simple ways for our customers to be able to take their money, be that pounds, euros, Japanese yen, US dollar, and use it to buy and sell crypto so they can engage in the crypto economy. And that is the service which we offer here in Lithuania to our global users and our EEA users. So how do we make the money? Quite literally, every time a customer wants to buy or sell crypto, we make a very, very small margin on that as the cost of providing that service. We're very competitive on pricing, but through our economies of scale, because of the size of our user base, obviously that accumulates to a number of different transactions. So that's the basics of it, and it's a growth industry. If we don't have the right services in place, we won't attract the next 270 million users to Binance and to the industry in general.
Interesting. And so what makes Lithuania so special? How is it different and so much better than Latvia?
So we've been in Lithuania for nearly 5 years now. We've committed to Lithuania, and Lithuania is committed to us in return. And so we have got a great partnership. And as you already said, my team spend a lot of time in the local community investing and kind of showing that we're committed to this country. We have a very good business here, and we want to continue that business, which is why we're engaging with the Bank of Lithuania in terms of the license application, and we want to grow that business here. That's ultimately what our goal is here, to really maintain the existing business and to grow it further as we attract more users in. What makes Lithuania attractive to us? I think we've already talked about it. You have a very unique, within Europe, understanding of how to regulate companies. And you've been very successful. My background originally was in banking, but for the last 10, probably 15 years now, I've worked in fintech. The last 20 years of my life, I've worked in regulated businesses. I've run regulated businesses. That is what I do. And for the last 10, 15 years, Lithuania has built this reputation of being able to regulate large companies, like the ones we've mentioned, and being able to regulate them safely and fairly. I don't want a pushover regulator that just does everything we want. That's wrong, because that means it's not protecting our users, right? We want a regulator that's fair and safe, and I think the Bank of Lithuania has proven that over the last 10 years, especially in the financial services and the EMI regulations. So that is very attractive to us, and we hope that continues into Mika world as well.
Thank you. You just came back from 2049. What's the mood out there?
Okay, so Token 2049. I think there's a few people that were obviously there last week. It was very hot in Dubai, unfortunately, but it was a very good event. I think there was about 20,000 people that congregated. I
heard you weren't able to get in the first day. It was so crowded.
It was very crowded, which probably shows the attraction of the crypto industry right now. Probably three big themes that emerged. Firstly, there's a huge focus on institutions. When I look at the last bull market in 2020-21, that was very retail driven. If I look at like the current bull market, 2024, 2025, that's really been driven by institutions. And we've seen lots of proof points of that. ETF launches, probably with the election in the US, obviously the crypto industry in the US has really turned the corner. And in the United Arab Emirates, obviously there's a lot of institutional funding that's in the region there. So that's probably the first thing we saw. Second thing is the continual evolution of DeFi. There's a lot of DeFi projects that are really emerging. They have real use cases in the real world. That's really exciting to see. And the third one is stablecoins. Everyone's talking about stablecoins. So how do we find proper use cases for stablecoins, for remittance purposes, for many other different purposes? So I saw this theme time and time again, people getting very excited about stablecoins. So those are three big themes from Token this year.
Now, we had Web 2. Society weren't happy with Web 2 being dominated by the large technology companies, having majority of the share in certain markets, products, services, customer data. So moved on to Web 3, decentralized. And now we're into Web 3, and now we're into Binance controlling again 50% of the share. How is that in line with the philosophy of Web 3? Well, Binance controls 50% of the market share.
I think that Web 3 is at its early days. Web 3 is going to grow significantly over the next 2, 3, 5, 10 years. I think if you were to talk to most people on the street today, they probably wouldn't even know what Web 3 meant. Because if you're going around your day-to-day life, you're getting up, you're going to work in the morning, you're eating your lunch, you're going home, you're looking after your kids in the evening, the concept of Web 3 isn't really in people's lives yet. But I think we will see it begin to emerge. Technology, as we know, moves incredibly quickly. As I think you said earlier, like 6 months in crypto is like 6 years in the real world. I've been in Binance for 3 years now, so I guess I've hit my, 36th year now, whatever it might be. So Web3 is moving incredibly quickly. And I think what we'll see is Web3 will have more significant use cases in people's day-to-day lives over the next 2, 3, 5 years. And for Binance, we just want to be a part of that. We want to be driving that, driving the agenda with some of the projects which we invest in, some of the use cases and products and services for our users. But we just want to be part of that new world as it emerges over the coming years.
And as a global head of Fiat, how do you see crypto adoption across the globe in different continents, different places? How does it differ?
I mean, it does differ very differently on a regional and even a country-by-country basis. But overall, we see crypto growing in every region on a month-by-month, year-on-year basis, growing significantly. I think if I just focus on Europe, seeing as we're here, Europe's going through a really interesting time as it transitions from VAS licenses into MiCA. So I think companies that are trying to get regulated in Europe are really spending a lot of time and effort on that transition and will be over the course of this year. But that hasn't dampened our customers or our users' appetite for crypto and for blockchain and for the wider Web3 society. So we're seeing very quick growth. We're seeing growth in awareness, and we're seeing really a lot of customers really trying to engage with the crypto community and find specific kind of products and services which crypto can give them, which they haven't really experienced before. So we're seeing that growth in Europe. But it's very much a regulatory focus in Europe at this point in time as we go through that transition.
What about US? So you're not operational in US?
Binance is not operational in US. That's
I
correct.
see the smile, but I see the opportunity there too. So how do you see the US situation now with a U-turn in policies, and is that also affecting other regulators and other jurisdictions seeing the U-turn in US?
I think there's an expression, if the US sneezes, the world catches a cold. And in crypto, we've obviously seen the benefit of that. So there's been a sea change in the US since, well, probably since November last year, with the election, and definitely a more crypto-friendly environment compared to the previous administration. I think, we've all seen that. That's pretty widely talked about in the news. And I think, yes, that does have an impact globally as well. I think regulators around the world, private companies around the world, they look at the US and they see what's going on. It's a huge market, the US. We've got 300 million people there, very kind of open, normally progressive country to work in. Binance itself does not operate in the US, as we already said. But as the US grows, the world economy for crypto grows, and that benefits Binance. So we're keeping a close eye on the US, and it does seem to have an impact globally as well in terms of the market and regulatory kind of, regulatory attitudes, so to speak. But yeah, it's a watching brief at the moment for us.
And you've mentioned something that's very important, and my colleague Žygimantas, one of the best lawyers in town, also mentioned the EMTs. So European Union is taking very strict stance on EMTs, saying, well, there's some that are compliant, some non-compliant, so using European currency is okay, US currency is not okay, although USDT still makes the majority of it. How is that interconnection going to play out with some regulators, again, being very strict and saying that, like what we've been hearing from Lithuanian regulator, that non-compliant USDTs, or non-compliant stable coins as USDTs should not be served from the European Union, regardless of the fact that the clients are outside of you. Some jurisdictions within European Union, like Austria, have been a little bit more flexible on it. But overall, the move is to wind down your operations and use USDC only. How do you see that interconnection?
Look, at the end of the day, I don't set the rules. I follow the rules. So if the guidelines, if the MiCA regulations say we can do this or we can't do that, we'll follow those rules. We'll do what our regulators allow us to do. Specific to stablecoins, then there's been a clear directive of what we can and can't do, specifically in Europe. So we'll follow those rules. And I think what we find is our customers, they will adapt as we adapt as well. If we can't do something or we can't operate in a particular model, then that's fine. We'll operate in models which we are allowed to operate in. We delisted USDT. So USDT is not available in Europe on the Binance platform because those are the rules. It's very clear.
So if I check it now, we won't find you with a smoking gun.
Go ahead.
Yeah. No, I trust you.
So that's how we operate today. But then there are compliant stablecoins. USDC is one of them. So it's not linked to the currency. It's not US dollar. Or euro. It's actually linked to the regulation behind it. So Circle and USDC is still operating in Europe. So that is a service or that's a product. That's a cryptocurrency that our users now enjoy. And we're seeing the slow emergence of some European stablecoins. Not at the, Euro stablecoins. Definitely not at the size and scale of what we saw or what we see in US dollar, but it'd be interesting to see how that develops over the coming kind of months or years ahead.
And you're based yourself in Dubai, and I believe you're dealing a lot with the regulators around the world. What can Lithuania learn from other regulators around the world from where you mentioned that you're not looking for a regulator who just follows what you say as the biggest market player, most knowledgeable and competent, but a fair engagement that ensures the fair play and impartiality to all participants. In that scene, what would you recommend, and what the best practice we would bring?
Yeah, I mean, as I said, we're regulated 21 countries around the world. And the Middle East is actually one of the areas where we have a couple of licenses or registrations. Interesting, Lithuania was actually the first registration that Binance got in Europe. So this is where we came to first. So we believe we've got a long track record here. I think there's a couple of things. One is consistency. We want every market participant to be treated equally by the regulator here. And that has been our experience so far. And I think, secondly, the reason why we actually chose Lithuania and why we want to continue to stay in Lithuania is because of some of those experiences which you have with other companies and other sectors in the financial services, some of which we've already talked about today. So we very much hope that the Bank of Lithuania and the regulator will continue that path of being fair, will be transparent, will use its experience of regulating large banks, large financial services providers, large e-money institutions, and will apply those experiences into MiCA. I actually applaud the Lithuanian regulator for trying to speed up this process by having a shorter grandfathering period to begin with, and trying to move market participants from a VASP into a full MiCA. The aspiration there is very good because it shows that the regulator is really engaged in this. I think the pragmatics of it means that these things do take a long time. You've got, was it 26 applications, 14 going through the actual detailed assessment process. That is a lot of work which a regulator needs to do in a small period of time. And one of those applications is ours, which we hope is successful along the way, and we're ready to engage, and we are engaging with the regulator on that. But I think that speed is important, but fairness and accuracy is important too.
Thank you. And would you be open to a question from the audience as well?
Of course. Ask anything you like.
So before the audience thinks of a question, one question still from me. So just recently you got $2 billion investment from MGX, UAE-based investment. How will that change the strategy, or what influence will that make an impact for Binance in terms of its operations and strategic views?
I think on a day-to-day basis, from an operational basis, obviously very little. We have global operations around the world. We're in 160 countries. We have over 5,000 staff. I think at senior management level and a board level, obviously there's another influence there. It's very good for us that we can show we can attract institutional investors like MGX into the Binance fold, and that these investors want to invest in us. That's a very good sign for us and for the industry as a whole. But I think, let's see, I think there'd be probably more news, I think, over the months and years ahead on this, but it shows that Binance is still an attractive company. It's an attractive company for investors, and it shows, hopefully, that we're on the right path in terms of trying to grow our company and grow the whole category, grow the whole of crypto as an industry.
Thank you. So any question from the audience? We already had your question. Maybe someone else? 1 second. Yes, please.
One more over there.
Hi, thank you, Thomas. So I wanted to actually ask you about, let's say, the community and the interaction between various competitors. So you mentioned that it's happening on a global scale, but do you see any signs of it happening in Lithuania already, or any interactions with companies in Lithuania?
Yeah, great question. Thank you. Obviously, we compete with our competitors. That goes without saying. But equally, we believe that crypto community is really early. I think, we're 10 years into this industry. The banking industry has been around for hundreds of years. The e-money industry has been around for 50 years, or however long it's been. So we're very early, and as much as we want to grow ourselves, we actually are more or equally interested in making sure the whole crypto community grows and people get interested in crypto. And the only way we're going to achieve that is by every market participant focusing on products, services, users. And I think most of our competitors equally are, and some of it are in the room today, and when they release new products and services, we actually get excited by that because it means they're trying to grow the whole category. So yeah, and so I think it is an important point to us. We do work closely with some of our kind of close competitors and other industry participants, because we believe that by doing that, we have a good chance of being able to grow crypto as a whole.
Thank you, Thomas. Thank you for being with us today, for answering questions. Some, I guess, a little bit cheeky, but I appreciate your British humor and being here with us, supporting Bifinity here in its operations, ensuring the competence and investment that is channeled throughout this ecosystem here in Lithuania. And I must say that as well personally, speaking with many different professionals, they watch Binance. They look how Binance reacts, how Binance behaves, how Binance engages, and Binance is a role model. And this shouldn't come lightly for you. It's a burden of responsibility too. And I would like you to leave with that thought that we look up to Binance, and we would like Binance to lead, but at the same time be respectful, engaging, willing to contribute just as much as you have been to date here in Lithuania. Thank you so much.
Great. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Thank you for Binance and to Binance to being here. And we're progressing quickly. We have 2 more speakers, and we'll be done before 11 o'clock, so you can go on with your business. And right now, I'd like to invite a global head for regulatory affairs of Uphold, a company which has a significant presence, one of the biggest presence here in Lithuania, with at least 20 people working here just across the street from here. And I'm very happy and glad to invite Emma to the stage to speak about their operations and the future here. Please. Now, Emma, as well, perhaps it would be great if you could share a few slides on Uphold, and then we can go into a few questions.
Yeah, so I know you did the introduction on Binance, that everyone knows Binance. I'm hoping that everyone knows Uphold, but let's do a little bit of a snapshot. So essentially, Uphold is a regulated gateway to crypto. And we have bank-grade controls and processes in doing so. So we founded the platform in 2014, so it was on the aftermath of the financial crisis. And the purpose behind it was to show customers alternative ways of trading and doing so in a very secure and transparent way. So as a foundation of what we do, we believe that security is the #1 thing that we offer to our customers. And with that, part and parcel comes transparency. So we never lend out customer funds. We secure one-to-one, we back and reserve all our assets. And the key thing that I read the other day is we have a little bit of an obsession about transparency, and we're okay with that characterization. So what we do is we were one of the first companies to publish our assets and liabilities on a public website. So every 30 seconds, you can now go into a public website and you can see the assets and the liabilities. So what we do is we operate in over 140 countries, supporting more than 16 million customers. And we offer a number of services. At the core, we have our consumer services. So that's your normal buy, hold, exchange, and sell wallet. We offer business and enterprise solutions, which essentially is opening up our platforms to businesses through APIs to utilize our regulated services. And I know you touched base before about institutions and institutional investors, so we also offer institutional clients, institutional trading. The only way to do that is by having a very compliant and regulated platform. So we are licensed in a number of jurisdictions. We are very big in the US, so we have almost 100% now coverage of money transmitter licenses. We're getting to 100%, so we're going to get there. We have a registration in the UK, and we also have an EMI license in the UK. And we obviously have a presence in Lithuania by having a VASP. We are expanding, so we're looking at the Bahamas, we're looking at Canada, and we're looking to get a MiCA here and in another jurisdiction. In Lithuania now, we established in 2021, we were a bit of a Brexit child. So after the Brexit vote, we were trying to see how do we service such a big market from Europe? So where do we establish a basis? And Lithuania popped up as a really high candidate. So we established here offering a lot of the same servicing, and we service more than 70,000 customers from Lithuania. We started with 5 team members in Lithuania. We have more than 20 now. And the core reason for that is that the talent was actually really good. So the people here look at compliance, they look at risk, and they don't only support European consumers, but they also provide global services to a global platform. So that's very key to know, and it's one of the reasons that we're so invested in Lithuania. So hopefully that gives you a little bit of the background, and maybe we can go into more of the questions. I didn't get a tie from you, which is okay with me, but I'll wait for something.
Yes, we're waiting for the 100 million, and I'm sure it's coming.
Yeah, I knew you were going to say that.
But you do something which is just as important. You get the competent people employed here, and you train them to the global standard of finance, of crypto. How do you find these people here? And how have you made the decision to have that center of excellence here in Lithuania?
Yeah, so let me start with the second question first. How do we decide to do that here? So as I said, we started with 5 people. Compliance is the second biggest department at Uphold, just after engineers, so it's pretty big. And we were trying to figure out where to find good people. And after starting with 5 individuals, we're like, yeah, we really like working with them. They're dedicated, they're very knowledgeable, and that's how naturally we expanded the operations to be up to 20 people now. The way to find it is through educational background, so we see what they've done. We have plugins and connections with the academics here. We have very good connections from our own compliance individuals that they recommend other people. And we've really seen that the market is open to more customers and consumers coming to us because of the good people that we attract. So it's a little bit of a word of mouth as well for making sure that we get those people on board. So it hasn't been a challenge so far. We're very happy and satisfied that it has been an easy journey for us. And when it comes to training them to global standards, it's part and parcel of what we do. So we operate at a global level, so they need to know the basics of how we operate in the global frameworks. And then they also train us about the regional nuisances that we find in Europe through MiCA or specifically in Lithuania. So it's a give and take that we have with those individuals.
Where else are you applying for MiCA in Europe?
We are applying in Portugal as well.
How have you chosen Portugal and Lithuania? Why those 2 jurisdictions? So today we heard Austria, Netherlands, Lithuania, Latvia was somewhere mentioned, but now Portugal.
Yeah. So in Portugal for us was because we acquired a VASP there. So we are going through the change of control to be able to apply for MiCA. So we're in the process of doing that. But generally, when we're looking to expand in a market, we're looking for a number of characteristics that we found in both jurisdictions. Ecosystem was obviously the first thing here. We discussed it before. It's not just the vast number of VASPs that operated here in financial institutions, but it's everything that you get around them. So the lawyers, the advisors, the market participants, to have those associations and those discussions. So these were things that we found in both jurisdictions. Talent was the second one, and we were able to find good risk and compliance talent here, and we have a very good engineer talent in Portugal as well. And then you look at the regulators. You look at, are they open? Are they engaging with us? Do they have clear requirements of how to operate in the market? And those were the kind of things that we found in both jurisdictions. Don't get me wrong, there are other jurisdictions in Europe that offer that, but it was the right business model for us in those 2.
How is your relationship with the Lithuanian regulator?
A relationship with the regulator is always challenging. They're very open, they're very transparent in everything that goes well, but in everything that has to be improved. We also have a responsibility to be open and transparent and work collaboratively with them. So I think throughout the years, we learn from them and they learn from us, and that's something that we value in the jurisdiction. it was great to hear from Simonas before about the investment that is happening from the Bank of Lithuania to bring the right people to engage with the market. And we are also trying to do the same. Have the right people here, be it through the associations or through us specifically, to be able to have those discussions in the back and forth. So I'm never going to say an engagement with the regulator is all nice, but you know, it's a journey.
Love.
It's a tough love, more tough than love, but yes.
But you're also operational in the United States.
Correct.
How is the United States changing now? We've seen the new administration, new change on crypto, but they still haven't got anything close to what we have in Europe as MiCA. So you've got, what, 40 different licensing frameworks to deal with.
Yes, correct. So at the moment, in every single state you want to operate, with the exception of a few states that have exemptions, you have to at least get a money transmitter license. In some jurisdictions, you have to get very specific crypto regulation licenses. Then in New York, for example, you have to have a BIT license. This is really tough for an organization looking to be operational in the US. It's expensive, and it's a really manual effort to try and keep up with all of those licenses. And it's right, we've seen a U-turn, right? After the new administration, we have a pro-crypto administration and government, we have a pro-crypto Congress, and we have a pro-crypto chair of the SEC, which is the first trio of success that we've seen. So we expect them to now move quickly to stop all of the outflow of innovation that happened from the States to Europe because of MiCA, but also to the UK. So we expect them to start creating a more federal approach to regulation to enable companies like us to keep innovating and staying there. So we are looking to see what's going to happen. You know, we support regulation. Obviously, it's part and parcel of what we do. So we do want to get that clarity to be able to enable trust from a consumer perspective. So yeah, we'll wait and see.
Is Asia coming into play as well?
Obviously, you know, we've seen a lot of things happening with the MAS in Singapore. They have sandboxes. They're clear on their regulation. And we expect to see a lot more things happening in Asia. Obviously, different regulators are a lot stricter in Asia. Japan, for example, is a lot stricter than other regulators. But we expect them to keep up, as we also have seen a lot of things happening in the UAE, trying to adopt and try to get a lot of innovation out of the States and out of the UK on the back of Brexit. So we expect to see a lot more in Asia, but I think the focus for us now is definitely Europe, getting the MiCA through and monitoring what happens in the States.
And for your business, how much Europe is important? Is Europe becoming more like a silo with a certain customer base, but it's all like capped and limited with a huge regulation burden with it, coming with it? Or Europe, from a crypto adoption point, seen is a huge opportunity still?
It's huge. And I will tell you in two phases why it's huge for us. Obviously, you have the consumer business. The consumers nowadays, obviously, they're getting better in understanding what a wallet can offer them, the different custody arrangements. So that's one thing. We have a massive consumer opportunity in Europe. But the second thing is we see a lot of businesses trying to go into the Web3 and the blockchain world. And we work a lot with enterprises and a lot with businesses to be able to API our platform. So we get a lot of demand from businesses trying to open up shop in Europe. And so we want to be able to be there for our consumers as well as our businesses. So we try to do that as much as possible. And for us, compliance isn't so much of a burden. So because we are a global operation, what we try and do is we try and embed regulation and compliance at the core of the platform. So our platform has fundamental controls that we're comfortable with. And then it's easy for us to embed the very regional nuisances of, let's say, how do you do KYC and how do you do transaction monitor? So it's easier for us to adapt because we've done this very fundamental underlying work on the global scale. So it's easy for us to adapt to changing regulation, to expand to new markets, and have that confidence to speak with regulators and evidence it.
And you're speaking with the regulators globally. What advice or best practice would you bring here, or maybe even be able to compare the Portuguese regulator and Lithuanian? And I'm sure there are benefits of doing business in Portugal, additional ones, but from a business perspective, what's What's out there?
I think what we've seen here is a lot of investment from the regulator to get the right people in the regulators to supervise us and authorize us. So one of the key things that we're looking for is to be able to speak with a regulator that understands the market and the technology, both now, but also have the capability to adapt to the changing needs of the platforms. So we keep innovating, and it's impossible to do that without a regulator that understands how we move forward. The second thing that we found is how open and transparent do they expect from us? And the reason I say they expect from us is because you then see how receptive they are to them. You know, if you keep going with findings and not explaining it to them, then they become a little bit more resistant. And what we've seen with Lithuania throughout the years, and I'm not saying that that was the case from the beginning, is they are open to understanding the difficulties that we face. They are open to providing second chances in showcasing the improvements that we have done. So it's definitely important to have a regulator that has that open door. We have seen that in Portugal as well. We have seen that in other jurisdictions. So it's a key finding that we look when we're discussing with regulators. And the final thing is we are also looking to approach regulators as an ecosystem. We don't want to keep going to regulators and say, okay, let's consider this or that as they're thinking about the new standards that are being issued. We want to make sure that as participants collectively, we're able to have those discussions and get feedback from them, because it makes us all stronger.
Just on some final notes, would you be able to explain a little bit more in detail of how your business is different from standard exchanges? Because I understand you've got a slightly different model.
Yes, correct. So in opposed to other exchanges or most exchanges, we act as the primary for the customer. So you
don't have the order book, you've got your own liquidity.
Correct. We have our own liquidity. We have over 30 venues, centralized and decentralized, that we source liquidity after we've exchanged with the customer. And that gives us a massive opportunity from a liquidity perspective. Like, we are able to trade constantly with consumers. We're able to give competitive pricing. So that differentiates us. Obviously, security is the other thing that we've discussed. We never lend out assets. We're fully transparent, so everyone can see the assets and liabilities on a constant basis. And we also are very open in educating consumers. You know, we have the Uphold Academy, which is a public website where everyone can go and read more about, you know, how to trade, how to educate themselves, what crypto is. And for some customers, we also offer very specific research papers that we have dedicated teams looking at it. The final thing I would add is we're very selective as well on the assets that we put in our platform. So we have a listing committee where the team reviews all the listings one by one. They're looking at how are they audited, how the founders look, and I think they only approve about 30% of the listings that go to them. So all of those are, I think, elements that make us different from everyone else.
Now, as a final note, we've been trying so hard for some time to have your CEO come here to Vilnius, Simon. And perhaps we can make some sort of agreement. So if you promise here on stage that Simon comes to Lithuania, we promise him the tie with a Gediminas insignia.
What do I get?
You'll get wonderful weather of Lithuania here again.
I have seen nothing but rain. So once you bring the sun again, I'll bring Simon back.
Thank you. Deal.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you, Emma and Uphold, for supporting our events and being a true member of this community. Again, employing one of the largest teams here in Lithuania and having a true center of excellence in bringing compliance, accounting, AML people, and crypto, blockchain technology experts as well. The last speaker, who I'm very excited to have here today, he's a member of our association too, and he's been building business here from scratch and been also very helpful and instrumental in developing this association by bringing global leaders to the crypto talks. We just recently had Bernard Perez here on stage, who's been the driving force behind the Libra Diem project, the old PayPal team, the group of people who've been pushing the boundaries of Web3, including the Web3 Foundation. So today we have Gael, who is a part of one of the largest global blockchain companies, Forte. And he has, with the team, raised around $1 billion in digital asset space to develop the next stage of blockchain technology, the next stage of blockchain gaming solutions. And I'm so glad that Gael is here today. We've been trying to get him on stage again for quite some time, and I'm so pleased that we managed it today. Gael, please. We also had this debate with Gael whether we should wear jackets or not, and I said that Gael, you know, with the central bankers, they're most likely going to wear jackets, and he said, Mykolas, you haven't spent enough time in Dubai at the Web3 conferences, and you should learn something. So there's something I should learn, but I'm very glad and
you convinced me.
Convinced you to be here on stage with us. Yeah. Gael, coming straight to business, so Forte, huge company, backed by a number of venture capital private equity companies, highly reputable, fully transparent company, from the US, raised roughly $900 million to build extraordinary things. How is that happening, and how are you using that money here in Lithuania?
So initially, the vision around Forte was to build Web3 gaming infrastructure, right? And that was really in the early stage. We're talking about 2018, 2019, and Forte had the vision that the next evolution in gaming would be through Web3 gaming, right? Enabling true digital property ownership, token economy, community-driven economy, rebalancing the sort of the entire gaming ecosystem where you allocate or rebalancing the roles of the different participants, the game developers, the players, and the content creators. I would say that the adoption's been slow, right? From Web 2 gaming, we have over 3 billion gamers worldwide, right? It's an industry that is generating over $200 billion yearly. I mean, that's more than cinema and music combined, right? So it's enormous. But the transition, it's still very slow for a couple of reasons.
What are those reasons? Is it the true experience of the users that innovation is great, Web3 is great, but the users of the gaming industry, they would like to have the seamless experience of the game? What are the reasons?
That's definitely one of them. I think what we were expecting earlier on was the sort of the tier 1 Web 2 gaming company to get into the space. And we had all very promising discussions with those companies. But then there was a lot of backlash, bad news on the industry, and that created some uncertainty for those companies to get into or to invest into blockchain, right? Regulatory uncertainty, a lack of proven ROI, right, for this company. That's why it's been slow. And I would say the lack of quality game, because most of the early Web3 gaming have been focusing on play to earn, which has been attracting crypto natives and degens, right? Not really gamers. Okay. So the mass adoptions that we were expecting hasn't happened yet, right?
And what about Dubai conference that you've also participated, and thank you for coming right from Dubai here to our conference. What's the mood there on Web3 gaming?
Well, it wasn't really one of the major topics, right? I think the major topic, as Thomas mentioned, was definitely stablecoin, big hype. I would say AI as well, how you sort of blend all AI with blockchain technology, and real-world asset tokenization. Those are the main three topics to take away for me.
And your company here, Lemma-X, what type of services will it be providing?
So maybe just a step back on Forte, right? So Forte initially Web3 infrastructure. Forte pivoted last year into what we call a sort of compliance-first protocol, right? Essentially, they build at the core of their protocol a rules engine that enable developers and projects to set rules at the asset level. And this is one of a kind, right? So we're still, into gaming, but we see other opportunities around, as I mentioned, real-world assets and stablecoin. So in that, what Lemma-X is supporting as an addition to what Forte protocol offers is we empower developers, projects to drive the adoptions, right? So if you look at the experience you mentioned, why is it slow to adopt? The adoption is slow, right? The user experience. You look at the user experience, if you want to play a Web3 game, right? You need to go probably to Binance, right? Maybe to buy some currency that you could potentially exchange on a DeFi protocol with a game token, right? Who's going to do that? Today, when you play a game, you have your mobile phone to pay or your credit card, and you do it within a second, instantly. Very seamless experience adapted to impulse buy, right? So that's what needs to change, I think, for the adoptions, is the ability to provide very seamless experience, right? And that's what we're trying to do at Lemma-X with embedded turnkey solutions within the application so that users do not have to go to some other places to get access to different assets or fiat or exchange fiat to crypto, et cetera, et cetera.
So, but that is still in relation to Web3 gaming platforms, or that's pivoting more to the compliance and regulatory solutions that would allow them to interchange between the different blockchain platforms?
So personally, I still see enormous opportunity in Web3. I think what blockchain technology brings to the gaming industry is phenomenal, right? So I'm hoping that we will see it this year with, whatever new games coming up. When it comes to Lemma-X, so we are historically, focusing on gaming, but we see a lot of opportunities in other decentralized applications, other websites that wants to basically enable seamless value in and value out rails, right? So today we focus on digital goods, NFT, and soon, hopefully, once we get the license in Lithuania, all the on and off ramp part, but all combined in the checkout experience that also embed all the on-chain, off-chain compliance aspect, right? So that it's a full turnkey solutions. Developers do not have to go to some other providers to get access to fiat payments or to do simple KYC or KYW. Everything is embedded into our solution.
And what's your European strategy? So we heard some companies, again, with Austria, Netherlands, Latvia, Portugal. What about your company? So how does your map of Europe look like?
So Lithuania is obviously our first choice, right? For a couple of reasons. I think Lithuania and EU provide a regulatory framework with MiCA. We've been looking for a long time, and that coming from a Libra DM project, right? Two is Lithuania brings credibility within the EU oversight. If you speak around, there is a few countries, and I'm not going to name them, that are seen as probably tier 2, tier 3 in terms of credibility for MiCA, but Lithuania is definitely tier 1, so that's another thing. And 3 is the talent pool here, right? We came here last year, early 2024, to set up the company, and I've been amazed about the quality of the people in the compliance, in crypto, the knowledge they have for the blockchain, the Web3 industry, phenomenal. And to answer your question, so Lithuania is the number 1 options. Number 2 is we've been looking into Denmark. So that's maybe another one that you can put on your list.
Why Denmark? It comes across as an expensive country. I guess weather is just a similar, maybe a bit better, but what's better there than what we have here?
So the number one criteria was how is the local regulator, right? The regulator there is neutral, which is good in crypto,
yes.
right? When you look.
The best you can hope for, at least.
Yeah, exactly. Second was the numbers of applicants, numbers of virtual asset service provider registered to ensure that your applications will have some dedications from the regulators, right? So the numbers of VASP was very limited in Denmark, right? And 3, obviously, is the grandfathering period, which they extended to 18 months, starting in January.
So you're operational in Europe?
We're operational in Europe for the non-regulated part, right?
Okay.
Out of Ireland, right? We've got basically 3 offices, one in Ireland, one in Lithuania, and one in Denmark.
And why does the grandfathering matter? Because of the Ireland EU passport services throughout Europe, or?
Because we're a startup, right? We're planning to launch our on and off ramp, the regulated part, right?
Yeah.
And development took a bit longer. Progress on MiCA has been a bit slower, especially in Lithuania, because we want to ensure that our application is top-notch, right? And that's why we've been delaying our launch. But we also wanted to ensure that while we go through the MiCA process, we have the ability to launch while we're engaging with the regulators, because we have the VASP registrations in Lithuania and the VASP registrations in Denmark. So it was basically to ensure that during that process, we could still launch our regulated activities.
Now, from what I hear, you have some of the best advisors here in Lithuania working for you in getting the application right. But I am also aware that the larger the company, the bigger the operations, the more difficult it gets to prepare all the documents, clearly, because of all the corporate structure, of all the licenses, all operations, services. We get so much documentation. How does that work? Getting all information from US, all different layers of, and we know with private equity, so many layers of governance, one fund, another fund, supervisory board, management board, another board, and then how are you going to get all that documentation?
So, it is a challenge. It is a challenge. And I think the challenge is also on the specific requirements that sometimes come from one or the other jurisdictions, which doesn't exist elsewhere. So you have to be able to somehow prove that such justification or document doesn't exist in a given country. But I think this is good. This is a good thing, right? We need to go through. I think this is my job, to be able to go to the Forte board, to the investors, to educate them on the importance of going through that process, right? So it will take time. That's why it's taking more time, because there is education, right? But I think it's a good path, right? That will bring credibility to any companies operating in Europe under MiCA.
Now, just some on last notes. So Forte, US company, again, I'm quite interested to see how US entering the competition in blockchain will affect the global framework. What do you see now in US, and how is that impacting other jurisdictions?
Well, the US, I think what I'm really interested to and I'm looking for in the US is the regulations around stablecoin, right?
Stablecoin is the name of the game.
Yeah, I think it's because it's sort of bringing another element into the Web3 space, which is no inflation, right? And more security for users, stable, right? So you're not, investing into, because it's very difficult for end user, especially non-crypto natives, to enter into the Web3 space without having, control over the asset they're holding, right? The stability of the asset, right? So having stablecoin, a framework stablecoin globally, right, will enable the mass adoptions of retail users.
And it's real-time and end-to-end experience is what matters for the consumers. We want to make sure the seamless transition of money. So that we had banking industry, what we heard, hundreds of years, e-money industry for decades, that we still haven't got the experience of end-to-end in real time, seamless transition of money, which I believe is what is awaiting the challenge for the industry. As association, we're so glad to have you on board with us, to have your experience and the knowledge that you bring, the team that you are developing here. And we're very hopeful for your application. But at the same time, we are worried that there's a limited amount of patience that these large corporates have in fulfilling all the requirements that the regulators say. They say jump, you jump, sit down. They give another document. But we do hope that you have the patience, and can you commit that you will be making it happen in Lithuania until it happens?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Definitely.
That is the most important message. Thank you, Gael, for coming.
Thank you, Mykolas, for having me.
And thank you for being with us. So, dear all, thank you for being with us here today at Crypto Talks. Hope you didn't find it too boring, seeing some of the familiar faces, but this is a little bit what being part of community is about. Seeing the same faces, getting to trust each other, work with each other to the common goal. Having the regulator, the professionals, the crypto companies, the global companies here with us working to the same goal. And this would not have happened without, and I see another wonderful government agency, which is now turning the eyes from me, but it's Invest in Lithuania, who do a wonderful job here. So I thank you for coming, and thank you for being with us, because they bring these global companies here to Lithuania. On that note, I would like to thank you all for participating, especially the panelists for being patient with me and with the questions, and for having contributed to success of this community, which, as I mentioned, has grown to become the largest blockchain association in Baltics. Thank you so much for coming, and please take your time to have coffee and network and do a little bit of business too. Thank you.